Greetings all.
Hi.
Welcome to our new podcast, Besties and Basins. We're besties and these are our basins. I'm Amy Benzie.
And I'm Allison Surf.
And let's see if we can tell you guys who these are. Right here we have Cassius Clay. This one we have Asmois. Going up right here, trying to escape from me, always trying to slither to the vines is Zaltis. And then who do you have there?
I have Isis, the queen of the jungle.
And I don't know if you guys can see these two here, but we have Bella and Jormungandr. So these are our 7 basins. And we are going to make a podcast telling you guys all the cool stuff about us. First of all, we have a really interesting relationship story. We're also going to be telling you guys all about these basins. We took a fantastic trip together. We're going to tell you about that. We're going to be talking about this jungle room that we have here, telling you about basins, where they're from, and some different fun facts about these animals. We are going to tell you what we gained from our trip and what we plan to gain from future trips. And we're just going to have some fun. So to get started, we're going to tell you how we met. Allison?
Yes, so we actually happen to live in a town that is large but not large, not too big. And it's honestly quite amazing that we hadn't met each other prior, because both of us have lived in the same town for many years.
I've been here 16 years and she's been here 20 years.
Yeah, so it's pretty amazing that we have not come across each other until just recently. But my grandparents were actually dental patients of Dr. Larry's practice, and that's Amy's husband, for many years. And of course they would go in and talk.
More than 20 years.
Yeah, for a long time. And of course they would go in and talk about me. And every time they would say stories about, my granddaughter likes to go look for snakes and hunt for alligators and all this stuff, he always said that it reminded him of Amy and that we should meet and get together.
He would come home from work after working on her grandparents and say, "You've got to meet this girl." Every time her grandparents come in, they talk about her, and she sounds just like you.
Yeah, so I got a friend request, and we had followed each other on social media for a few months. I thought all her content was amazing. She would put up videos of the emeralds in the jungle room and talk about her trips, because she had been many places prior. And I just thought she was the coolest lady ever. I was like, she's awesome. But we still hadn't quite met until a trip she was taking came about, and I guess Larry's suggestion?
Mm-hmm.
Larry suggested maybe having a photographer on the trip, which that's where I come in.
Yes.
And so I thought that was amazing. We briefly talked over Messenger, and I decided to invite them to what I worked at the snake house.
And I just want to interject. Allison has a degree in wildlife biology, and she's a professional wildlife photographer, a very, very good one. So that's why my husband was very excited for me to have a wildlife photographer on my trip who loves snakes.
Yes, very much so. So I happened to, at the time, be working for a local herpetologist, Dennis McGee. Hi, Dennis.
Hi, Dennis.
And Dan Porter. Hi,
Dan. You rock, Dan.
Yeah, for sure. Taught me so much. And I invited them to the snake house, which was basically a room filled of 100 different reptiles, different species, everything from venomous to non-venomous. And they came in and hit it off right off the bat with me, Dan, and Dennis, as well as the snakes. It was awesome. So I'd like to tell one particular story, because it still just gets me to this day. There was a milk snake in the reptile house that I worked for that I tried for many months to get a good photo. This particular snake was just a little flighty and didn't really like to be handled a whole lot, so it would never quite sit still for me. Great snake, but just preferred to be burrowed, not in the hands of me or really anybody. So I handed Larry the milk snake, and I could not believe it. This little snake slithered up his arm, rested on his shoulder at one point, and then slithered back down, rested back on his arm. So content, so happy, did not move, was the happiest little snake I'd ever seen. And it blew me away because I had been trying for months to do that. And Larry, first time, got it right
That
off
little
the
animal
bat.
just fell in love with him.
Yes, it was so crazy.
And it was even more than him just holding the little snake, but the way this, you guys can see in the picture here, the way he had the little snake resting on his arm, Larry was just talking to everybody for a long time. And the little snake, every time someone would move their hand real fast, the little snake would hide his head behind Larry's arm and peek out. He felt so comfortable.
It was so cute.
But another cool thing is that Larry had never held a snake in his life until we got these basins. So these were his very first snake experience. So he's not like a snake guy who has handled snakes all of his life. Quite the contrary. And for him to be so comfortable with the animals, he's just, Allison always says he's
a little snake whisperer. It's true.
And he's great with these guys too. He came in here, got them all down and handed them to us while we're sitting here. He just does a great job handling them.
Yeah, really does.
So the first time we met was at the snake house, and it was really incredible. Name a couple of the venomous snakes that we got to see.
So we have a gaboon viper, we have a puff adder, several different species of rattlesnakes, everything from a timber rattler to a massasauga. We have albino king snakes, blood pythons, Texas rat snakes. We even have a scaleless snake. So
I love that one.
Yeah, just a fabulous amount of different types. Different types of boas, red tails. I'm trying to think. There's just so many running through my head.
I love the bull snake.
Yes, we have 2 baby bull snakes and then an adult bull snake.
About 6 feet long.
Which is really cool. They are pretty fascinating. I want to say if I had to pick a favorite, which is really, really hard, it would probably be the gaboon. And we will show you guys the gaboon hopefully in some podcasts because that is a pretty impressive animal.
We'll definitely take you guys down to the snake house and let you meet everybody.
Yeah.
The snakes and the folks are fantastic.
It'd be super fun.
So that was our first meeting at the snake house. And you have to remember that we agreed to go on a trip together to Peru, Colombia, and Brazil before we ever met in person. We already had the whole plan, the tickets bought, everything was done and said before we ever met. So then we met at the snake house. The second time we met, Allison came over here to my house where upstairs, you guys see the jungle gym that I have down here for these animals? Well, upstairs I have a full aerial jungle gym for humans. So we had a blast. You guys check out some of the video footage that we made that night.
So much fun.
We played on everything. We came down here. Look at these videos. And Larry and Allison and I had a blast. Just when we feed the snakes, we always put them in the rain chamber, which we'll tell you guys all about the rain chamber. We'll tell you all about how our snakes are fully potty trained. Sounds crazy, but it's true. And so we put the snakes in the rain chamber, we sat on these hammocks and handled them, and then we fed them dinner. So we had about a 3-hour time, our second time together, and just filled, jam-packed full of fun, laughing, talking about our trip. It was a great time.
It really was.
And then the third time we met was actually the night that we left on our trip.
Yes.
Allison got dropped off by a friend.
I did. I had my bags packed, had a few tips from Amy, what to bring, and then of course I just assumed that I needed to bring more. So I came fully prepared for the jungle, which I soon found out I was over-prepared for the jungle.
We had to take some things out.
Yes. So as I'm unpacking my bag, she's like, you don't need this, you don't need that, you don't. And I'm very grateful for that because it was a blessing to have less weight when you are traveling on those types of trips.
You guys will hear all about
You'll
the trips.
hear all about it.
We had a great adventure traveling on the Amazon River through 3 countries. And, you know, it sounds glamorous when we talk about it, but it does not feel glamorous when you're going through it.
It's a tough travel, but amazing all the same. And just like every little travel, there's the amazing parts, and then, of course, you have your little hiccups along the way.
We have some drama to tell you guys about on another podcast.
Yes.
We will fill you in.
For sure.
So that night, we just, like Allison said, we went through the bags. I did have to take quite a lot of stuff out of her bags. And I know how it is because I've been to the jungle 5 times now. So by then I knew exactly how it feels to overpack, think you need more than you do. So it was good.
Yeah.
I had the experience and we were able to take care of some of those things.
For sure.
And then the next morning at about 5 in the morning, we left on our trip. And we'll talk about our trip a little bit on this podcast, but we're really going to save the details because we want to give you guys a full-blown hour with our trip. Pictures, videos, we have so much to share with you.
Yes.
So the reason that we take the trips, well, you know, Allison went with me because she's a photographer. Like I said, she has a degree in wildlife biology. So she was extremely interested in the wildlife in the area where we went. I take the trips for one sole purpose, which is to find these animals. And, you know, you don't always find them. As a matter of fact, you know, if you're looking for this particular species, you're not likely to find them. I did find one in the wild in the Peruvian jungle in central Peru. And I don't know if you guys can see above us on the wall. You can't really see. I'll have to insert some pictures of it. But there's all pictures of this species that I found in Peru. So that's my main purpose of the trip. And Allison?
My purpose was a little bit different. As she had mentioned, I have a wildlife and field biology degree, so being in the field in one of the most biodiverse ecosystems in the world is literally a biologist and photographer's dream trip. So I really wanted to immerse myself in the environment and see all the animals and insects and vegetation. Amy was a little bit more keen on these beauties. The emeralds are definitely her forte, but I wanted to see it all. So for a photographer, the Amazon rainforest is, you just can't get any better than that.
Mm-mm. So many animals, you know, the sloths, all the different types of birds. You know, I have some great footage of huge rats, the arboreal rats up in the trees that are the main diet of these animals. And what other, all kinds of different snakes.
Right.
And it's all fun and interesting, but for me, it's cool. But really, honestly, not really that much more exciting for me than going to the zoo. But when I find one of these in the wild, my heart literally, I'm in heaven. That's how heaven must feel because I love being with these animals in the wild. And when we talk about our trips, you guys will see me just like I'm doing right here, holding multiple emerald tree boa, or emerald tree boas in the wild ones. So that's going to be really cool.
Amazing.
So we wanted to tell you guys, you know, why we go on the trips, but also another reason for me, not just to go look at these animals in the wild, which is huge, but also to come back and try to recreate their natural environment here in my jungle room. It's really important to me that my animals have as much of a natural environment as possible. And, you know, these animals are known for being extremely striky. A lot of keepers say you can't hold those animals. It stresses them out. They bite. They do have the largest teeth of all non-venomous snakes known on the planet. But I believe that all 7 of mine are like this because they're so happy and content in their habitat. And I think it makes a big difference when your snakes are happy of how handleable they are. I'm not an expert on the subject, but I do have 7 of them here that are all like this. So I don't know, my theory could be, I could have some empirical data here to go with my theory.
Definitely. Anytime you're in the field too, it's just a great opportunity to take the chance and the information down, because you never know what kind of facts you may come across that may not be known in previous literature. So the fact that a lot of the wild basins are difficult to find, not a lot of people actually go and study them in the wild, specifically the basins rather, it's a very important thing to possibly add some information and knowledge to the scientific world of these snakes.
There's not a lot out there.
So that's something that kind of struck me is important for our future trips, to definitely take as much information and notes that we can to just possibly further the education of the emeralds.
Definitely. And when Allison and I went, we traveled Peru, Brazil, and Colombia, like I said, and that's where these animals are from. There are two species. This is the Coryllius batisi, and then there's another species that's called the Coryllius caninus, or caninus, depending on where you are, how you pronounce it. And the northern version comes from French Guyana, Guyana, and Suriname mostly. Also in Venezuela, and in northeastern Brazil, you can find both the Coryllius caninus and the Coryllius batisi. So the northern version of this animal, the caninus, is still allowed to be exported from Guyana and Suriname. So the northern version is a much more popular, I guess, I don't really know popular, but more affordable. So you'll find the wild version at a lot of the reptile expos. And these animals, though, these are the batisi, the southern version. There is no exportation of these animals. So the only ones we have are the ones that are captive bred here in the States. And they are much harder to get your hands on. They're harder to find in the wild. And there's just really not a lot of data out there to find about these guys in the wild. So we are really excited to be able to bring some of that back. The first time I went to Peru, I did find one wild batisi, but since I've been to that location, they've found 4 more. So that's a lot of good data.
Yeah.
And we plan to also find some more on our own.
Right, right.
We also plan a trip coming up in February. I've been to Suriname and Guyana twice now. And my next trip coming up in February, Allison's going to go on that trip with me. She was actually supposed to go on that trip with me already, but after we took our first trip together, we found that yes, we have a lot in common, but we had a little drama because there are some differences between us.
Right.
And when we got back from that first trip together, I turned around 2 weeks later and went on another trip back to Suriname and Guyana. And between our personality differences, the drama that we are going to tell you guys all about, and the fact that it is very tiring.
Right.
Allison opted out of the second trip, and I did get the opportunity to take Kyra with me, which we had a fantastic time, but I'll tell you, I missed Allison for a lot of reasons. Our shared passion for snakes was really missed, and just a lot of different things about our shared passion for wildlife and nature. So I missed her on that trip.
And I will say, let me just point this out, she had some amazing photographs on Facebook. It was a little difficult to see, I'm not gonna lie, because it really, the wildlife that she got to see and the experiences were pretty cool. So I was a little bit heartbroken, super happy for her that she got to go, of course, and of course Kyra got to experience it too. But I did have a little bit of a heartbreak not being able to be there. So luckily we have worked that out, and we are definitely adventure partners. Yes. I would say for life.
Our relationship is much stronger now.
Yeah.
When I don't want to
I
talk
know
too
we
much
don't
about
want
it.
to say too much
We want to
because
save it.
we want to save it, but just know that we're okay now. We have plenty of adventures to come in the future, but we will have some stories along the lines of these podcasts to tell you.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll tell you guys a couple more facts about these animals. If you guys can see on these particular snakes, they have a beautiful stripe all the way down their back. I've heard it called a lateral stripe, a dorsal stripe, and something else. I've even seen Facebook arguments over what that stripe is called. But what's so interesting is that these animals with the stripe are exclusive to northeastern Brazil. You don't normally, very small percentage, actually none that I know of outside of the northeastern Brazil area, have you found a Batisi with a stripe. The Caninus does not have a stripe. There is no Caninus with a stripe. I did have some very experienced guides with me in Suriname who think that they saw a northern with a stripe some years ago. They don't remember completely, but they think that they did. So we can't say there are none. We really don't know.
And that may be something that we hope to clarify.
Mm-hmm.
If we can really look for them a lot and do some field work, we may be able to clarify some of that.
Yes. So if you see this animal with a stripe, it is definitely a Batisi, of course, until we prove otherwise. But you can find Batisi and Caninus without a stripe. There's hardly any way to tell them apart until you know a couple other details. For example, the animals have a different scale count on their snouts. So that's a sure way to tell them apart. You'll see on this picture here, you can see the top picture is the snout, the head of a Batisi. You see that the scales are much smaller than the picture on the bottom of the Caninus with the larger scales and less scale count. There's also a difference in the size of scales on their belly, but you'd really have to have the animals side by side to be able to tell that.
Right.
But you can see by this picture of their heads, it's pretty simple to tell the difference between them when you see their head.
Right, right. So
in captivity, you normally only see a Batisi with a stripe because the stripe is a desirable characteristic of the animal, and we've been breeding these animals in the United States, I think, since I really don't remember. I know I watched a video of a fella, but I can tell you it was before the 70s. And I've told Allison the two different reasons that I read that the Caninus, that the original name was Coryllius caninus. You want to tell them those two reasons?
Yes. So I had read about the teeth. The caninus
Look at these teeth.
From the teeth because they
Look at them.
look like canine teeth. But then I was also educated that it's also their snout shape. So their snout shape, especially, I think he's Ninji, is really long and favors almost a German Shepherd muzzle. So you can
that
really
long snout with the little bump in the middle of the nose.
Yeah, you can really see that.
Well, look at Ninji's face right here in this picture. You guys can really see it there.
Yeah.
Excellent depiction of that.
Yeah.
And I think
yeah.
Ninji's the one all the way up there.
Ninji curl climbed up. And Isis is strong.
I have Cash. I don't know if you guys can see him, but he's just totally sleepy and relaxed here. And so is, I think this is, this might be, this is not Jormungandr. I think this is Asmois. It's hard to tell the difference. Oh yeah, because here's Jormungandr. Jormungandr and Asmois are litter mates, so they look a lot alike. And it's easier for me when I see both of their heads to tell them apart. Right. Also, you guys heard me say litter mates. Normally, snake babies are called a clutch. So when a snake has babies, it's normally called a clutch because most snakes lay eggs. But there are some species that give live birth, And do all boas give live birth, do you know?
I believe majority of them do, yes.
As far as I
As
remember
far as
reading.
I remember, yes.
So these are boa constrictors, and they do have live birth. There's a particular word for it, which I can't remember right now. And there's a lot of great videos out there of these babies being born. And before they're even completely out, their little tails are already wrapped around anything that they can grab. It's quite amazing. And they normally have, and this is all information that I've read from breeders and been told by breeders, usually maybe about 5 to 8 babies on their first litter would be about average. And an adult who's bred multiple times could have up to 20 babies.
Wow.
So that'd be pretty crazy. We haven't bred these animals yet. I do have a pair old enough to breed. They're going to be 5 next month. But we're letting the animals just do their thing in here. We're not doing anything to induce breeding. But there are ways to induce breeding. Allison?
Yeah, so basically what you want to do is you want to mimic the natural environment of that snake. So a lot of your neotropical snakes, you're going to want to mimic the season because they have a wet and dry season. For your temperate animals, such as the ones in North America, I think she's about had enough. She wants to slither.
Direct her up over there.
Because she's got my other arm like handcuffed. Maybe she'll slither this way. Come on, baby girl.
Do you think I should try to get her tail here?
I think she'll come back this way.
There you go.
Come on, sweets. Oh,
And you guys can see how they wrap around.
just like that.
They are very, very strong.
Yes.
They're strong climbers.
Very strong.
We're gonna come back to Allison telling you guys about the breeding.
Yes. So for your temperate animals, such as the ones that she's squeezing tight on my neck, so if my voice is getting funny, it doesn't hurt. She's just holding on. You want to mimic the seasons with temperature. So, for example, a lot of your rattlesnakes, we will put them in what's called brumation, where we will lower their temperature. They don't eat. They kind of just, it's similar to hibernation, but it's not technically a hibernation. And they cool way down for a few months. Then you bring them out of brumation. You warm up their body temp. You feed them really well, get them nice and strong back to par, and put them with their mate. And hopefully you'll have babies.
And that mimics their natural environment.
Right,
so
right.
It's not mean to cool them down and withhold food because that's how
Right.
it is in nature.
Right, right. So, like for example, we go through a kind of a mild winter, but it's still a winter.
Right.
And so we will drop the animals' temperatures all the way down to what their natural winter would be.
Mm-hmm.
So it's completely safe. They're ectotherms. So not eating for several months as long as their temperature is low is perfectly natural and normal for these guys. Totally different than mammals.
So yeah, we have not done any of that, although, we want to. We want to create this whole room with the temperature and humidity fluctuation just like it is in the wild, and we're going to work on that this year. So it's very possible, actually probable, that we might be getting babies sometime soon.
Yeah, that would be great.
I'm going to let some people, let some of these emeralds kind of slither up now. They are just doing such a fantastic job. You guys can't hear it, but there's a lot of huffing that they do when they're being held, just like letting air out of their nostrils. It doesn't sound aggressive.
Mm-mm.
It's kind of cool, actually, especially when they do it right in your ear. It's like,
Yeah.
So, yeah, we have not started breeding. When we do start breeding, people want to know, what are you going to do with the animals? Well, I'll tell you, that is an extremely difficult question to answer because we give these animals a lot of personal attention. You can see that every one of these animals has its own little environment. And like I've said, they're all potty trained, and they they get a lot of one-on-one attention, and as you see in this group. So having too many, we might not be able to do those things that we really enjoy. And we don't ever want to have a situation where we have so many animals that we have to keep them in a less than desirable environment. We want them to have plenty of room to slither and feel like snakes. And watch out.
I know. She's... Okay, girl.
It's all right. She's coming back. She's doing good. So sometimes the body language of these animals is super easy to read, but sometimes you might get a little scared. Like right now, Isis was a little S'd up, is what we call it, and that's the snake's body language before they're ready to strike. These animals, for example, you see how Cash is right here? This animal is not going to strike in this position. But if he let his body S up, then we might be afraid, because they do need some slack in their body to get a good strike in. So when you saw Isis right now get S'd up right in front of Allison's face, that could get a little bit scary. But the best thing to do is stay calm. Mm-hmm. And if you do get bit, Allison, you want to take over there?
Yeah, so working with animals, it's bound to happen. Both of us are well aware of the risks, but we are also pretty experienced in handling them, which also means we are experienced in bites. It does happen. I've been bit by several different snakes. She's been bit. It really doesn't hurt as much as you think. It just is more of a matter of remaining calm for the animal's sake. A lot of times they bite not to be aggressive and to hurt you. It's either a misjudgment of food, thinking that it's feeding time, or just a little bit nervous, too quick of movement, heat, and they'll strike just, in defense, which is why it is so important to watch their body language.
Yes. The way these animals are right now is very safe. I do not feel one bit threatened by getting a bite right now. No. You guys, I don't know if you guys can see Bella. She's right there. She's in a striking position. Mm-hmm. So if you guys can see her, Allison does great with Bella. She's the last animal that we started holding. As a matter of fact, we've had Bella for, I think, over a year now, and we never held her, or a year and a half. We've never held Bella until just these past couple months. Larry and I started holding her when we take her out of the rain chamber and put her back in her habitat, but Allison came right in and just started holding her. So she's been held more in the past month or so than she ever has. And she was assist fed as a baby. She was a rescue, and assist fed means that the snake has to be held down and a special tool is used to help them get nutrition into them, which in the case of Bella was a very high protein prescription cat and dog food, a wet cat and dog food. And it's put into a very nice syringe with a ball on the end. As a matter of fact, here, I'll show you guys a picture of it. And that helps to get the nutrition into the snake, and that's what she had to have. And even after she was off of that, she still had to be fed special food to help get her eating. And now she is one of the most aggressive eaters that we have. But she's also a little leery of being held, a little more nervous than the other animals. So we give her a lot of room. We usually don't even take her. This is only her second time out with the group like this. All of the other animals are used to being handled in a group. Can you guys, I don't know if you guys can see two heads here, but this is two snakes right here. And then I've got two, there's Bella, and I don't know if you guys can see, but Ningishsada's all the way above Allison's head. I don't think you guys can see him up there. He's getting ready to, he might come down around and across, we'll see how much longer we'll be talking. Can you think of any more fun facts about the snakes right offhand? I mean, the green, you guys can see.
I was just thinking, their color is almost unreal.
It really is.
Some of my photographs, you would think that I highly edited them. No, I don't even mess with the color saturation. These guys are really, really vibrant.
Mm-hmm. And then with the white stripe, and then they have bright yellow bellies. And some of these animals, I know there's no way you can see it from there, but this is Cassius Clay that I have holding up high. And he's got a beautiful turquoise blue, all where his green and yellow meet together. It's absolutely gorgeous. They're such a pleasure. And, you know, I want to go back again to the fact that most keepers of these animals do not touch their snakes. As a matter of fact, when we got our first animal, which is this one right here, Asmois, I posted some pictures. Ooh, I'm going to come back to their color change. Don't let me forget. I posted pictures of Azzy when she was just a little baby, a neonate they're called, and these animals are red when they're little. And she was just a little red baby, and I would hold her and take pictures and put it on Facebook. Well, the Facebook Emerald experts were very quick to let me know that that is not how you don't handle these snakes. You let them be. They told me, quit taking pictures of them. It's going to stress them out. But I was bound and determined that my animals were going to be pets. And then when I got my next two animals, which was Isis that you see there and Zaltis, who's right here, they were 3 years old when I got them. I was so fortunate to get them. Oh, that's another thing people are going to want to know. How do you get these animals? Because they really are hard to get. When I was so fortunate to get these animals at 3 years old, I wanted to hold them. So I would hold them and take pictures, but I never posted pictures of me holding them because the Emerald experts on Facebook made me feel, no one can make you feel a certain way, but their comments, I did feel, you know, I didn't want to be made fun of. I didn't want to seem like a fool. So I didn't even post my favorite pictures of me holding my snakes. Isis and I, her wrapped around my neck, us just looking out the window. I loved that picture. But since I started studying these animals in the wild, I started handling my animals often. They're very healthy. These guys, they eat no problem. They give me full sheds. Like I said, they're potty trained. They do all of their functions just the way they're supposed to, and they're sweet and they're pets. Mm-hmm. So I'll go back to the color change. Do you know the word for that? There's a word. It's not a chronological color change.
No,
kind of sounds like that.
Yeah.
So we'll pop the word up here for you guys.
Right.
But when they're about 7 months old, they start changing from red to green, and they get these little green spots on them. And then each time they shed, they get more and more of their green color until they come out looking like this. And with every shed, they look a little bit different. Their stripes get a little bit thicker in some cases. Asmois here, Azzy, she developed a little white dot on her, one little white scale, which Isis also has a larger one. So it's really fun to watch them change all the way from 7 months. And then when they're about 9 months old, that's when they get their full green color. So that's really neat. And then there was another thing I just said I was going to mention. Do you remember what it was? So besides the color change and not...
well, didn't one of them not have a stripe at first?
Yeah, actually little Bella, when we were first offered Bella, we were set that we wanted a thicker white stripe, and she hardly had any stripe at all. So we had said that we did not want Bella in the beginning. And we were assured that her stripe will come in, which it did. And her stripe came in, and she's turned into this beautiful little thing. She's got a stripe just as good as everybody else's. And the stripes are a desirable feature, like I said. The animals, are actually worth more money depending on the uniqueness of their stripe. So there are some real designer snakes out there that people have been breeding, which are just amazing. But these guys are what's called a textbook basin, and this is pretty much how they look in nature when you find them with the stripe. Oh, I remember what the other thing was now.
What?
I was going to talk about Isis and Zaltis. Isis and Zaltis are also litter mates. They're going to be 5 years old next month, and they came from what's called a blackline. They were holdbacks. A holdback means that the breeder did not want to get rid of the animal. He wanted to save the animal to see if it was going to come out with any special features to make it a good breeding animal. And Zaltis and Isis were bred in a blackline by Steve Volk. Steve, thank you so much for all of your help with us in this hobby. Steve's been a fantastic mentor and has helped us. He was the breeder of Zaltis and Isis and the rescuer of Bella, and was also turned us on to other animals that we have. And then actually 5 of our animals we got through Steve Volk, and the other 2 we got through John Levy. Thanks, John. We're loving our animals. So like I said, we were super fortunate to get Zaltis and Isis. And what I wanted to talk to you guys about is lots of people ask, do you breed? How do you find these animals? They're practically impossible to find the Batisi. The Caninus is not difficult to find. You can find wild caught and captive bred, but the Batisi is not easy. So what you do is you get on the Facebook groups, the Emerald Tree Boa Enthusiast and Keepers, and the forum, the Emerald Tree Boa Forum. There are probably a good 6 to 10 out there completely, and you just go on there and look for anybody posting pictures of babies, and you send them emails, you send them messages, everything that you can do. And that's how we ended up with these animals. We had gotten Asmois, and then because of other emails that I sent out, we were contacted about Zaltis and Isis, which was super exciting.
Isis is just curled up.
She seems very happy. Everybody seems really content. You guys can see how they're just lounging around us. Perfectly happy. Nobody essed up except Bella. She's always on the defense. But I think that we covered everything. We do want to tell you guys, do you want to talk about kind of what we're going to do on our next podcast about our trip a little?
So our next podcast, we are going to take you on the first leg of our trip, which was in Peru, and we are going to show you pictures, go through experiences, and tell you a little bit of some of the cool cities that we got to visit on the first part, which would
and
be
the awesome people that we've got to
awesome
be with.
people. Yes,
Juan
yes.
Reynaldo Quipsy Galagos.
Yes, our
Sorry,
guide
Reynaldo.
who was amazing. So we will be discussing Lima, Iquitos, and Caballo Cocha, Peru.
And then that's just the first leg, like she said. And then we're going to keep doing the next couple podcasts about our trip, because visiting 3 countries, we had a lot of experiences.
Right. There's almost too much to include with just one podcast.
Yeah, we were talking about 3, and then we're like, well, really, we need 4.
Yeah.
So we'll get you guys all those details. And don't worry, we will definitely let you in on all of the drama that we experienced together and how we healed from that.
Yes.
So it's all interesting and fun, and we're really looking forward to getting to spend more time telling you guys about our experiences, our animals, and our relationship.
And sharing our adventures.
Yes.
Because not only will we adventure in the jungle room here, but we will adventure anywhere, and obviously in the future go on to the rainforest more.
Yes, we're going on a trip together in February, and then I'm working on a trip to northeastern Brazil to go find the Batisi again. And I wish Allison could take that trip with me, but we're still working on all of the funds that we need for both of us to take our trips.
Right.
Guys, we are going to take you to the snake house on other podcasts. We live in Arkansas, the natural state. Allison,
I hope to take Amy to go look for alligators. They are native to Arkansas. A lot of people don't even know that. I happened to do some research on them when I was in college, so they're one of my favorite animals, and we'll take you along for that too.
We'll take you guys out and about with us.
Yes.
As well as in the jungle room.
Uh-huh.
Well, everybody, it has been fun. I really look forward to getting to spend more time telling you guys about all our
Yeah.
cool stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for letting us share.
Thank you.
Bye.